What's up, RC people? Welcome to the RC channel. I'm the RC guy. Today I got the RCP Wreckluse. It's a all steel buggy type crawler and I have it torn all apart. We're doing our yearly maintenance. Got the axles all taken apart. Here's the front. It has all boom racing, knuckles, C-hubs, the links and the 4-link mounts are all from boom racing. Here's the rear tower. Here's the rear lockouts, and then I have these disc brake type hex hubs on there, and then these wheel nuts are from hot racing also. And then I have the pumpkin covers are from hot racing. I have a 2-speed transmission with a giant outrunner. This is a Teardown motor. I believe it's a 800 kV or 900 kV. It's really low. And it's got the 2-speed like I said. And then I'm using these rims I got off eBay. They're 5-piece bead locks. And then I'm running the RC 4-wheel drive Mudslinger XLs. They're 2.2s. And then inside I have the Crawler Innovation 2-stage foams. Really nice setup. And the shocks I'm using are X-Speed external piggyback shocks, and these are all aluminum, and here it is with the spring on. So we're going to take this thing all the way down, clean everything up, put new grease in, and just service everything. It hasn't had a good service in a long time. These shocks are, the oil is mostly gone. I'm sure it's really bad inside. And then for the gear sets, I'm using the Axial heavy duty bevel gears 3614, and then I'm using locked up RC FI heavyweight spools. It's really nice. It adds a lot of weight down low. And I'm using MIP drive shafts. So I'm going to tear this thing all apart, get it all cleaned up, wash everything, and give it a nice bath. Has the universal joint in the axles. There you can see the boom racing logos. There's the boom racing on this one. And then on the 4-link mount there. So I'll get this thing all torn apart, cleaned up. I have a SCX10 battery tray that I run in the front. It actually goes in like that. And then I mount the battery underneath there. As you can see, it's real dirty. So I'm going to take all of the electronics off, give everything a good wash, and then put it all back together. I'm using a Spectrum S6030 servo for the steering. It's a very good servo. I've never had any problems with it. And then for the 2-speed, I'm just using the Tower Pro MG996R. And then I have a servo saver on there. Kind of helps engage and disengage the 2-speed. Gives a little bit better connection. Running the Spectrum SR410 receiver. And then I have a small Teardown brushed speed controller here, and I use that for the lights. I have rock lights underneath, and then I have one that goes across the top. And then I run off, low beam, and high beam off that switch. So let's get it torn apart and see what we got. So here's one of the shocks I just finished rebuilding. It's really smooth. all clean, washed out. There's the bottom. Really nice shocks, all aluminum. I like the attention to detail. They have those dimples that they machined out. And then the different colors here. Really nice quality. So let's empty another one out. Have this one here. Let's see what's inside. Probably not good. Doesn't look like much of anything. So let that one sit on a paper towel. Clean out the inside. Then I'm going to take this little plug out. Set that aside for now. In here there is a plunger. There's a spring, and you can see the plunger down at the bottom. But I'm not really too concerned about all that. These aren't really on a high performance vehicle. So we'll just put those back. I'm not going to take these all the way apart. It seemed to be halfway decent inside. Just get out what I can. Try to pump out as much of the oil as I can. Feels real smooth. There's no grit or anything inside. So you want to extend the shock all the way. And then I'm using low C 20 weight shock oil. It's lab tested. I don't know what that means. But like I said, this isn't a high performance vehicle, so I have it filled about 3/4 of the way, and then you want to slowly push up. Don't let the piston come out of the oil, and then when you have it up, it's about 3/4 of the way up, pull it down and twist, and that'll get any of the remaining air bubbles out. I like to do that a couple times. You can see the piston there, and then twist as you go down. And once you do that a few times, you can top it off. And then before you put the cap on, you need to push the shock piston to the top. And then this one has a bleeder on it. That's this red piece that we took out. Let's put this back on. And I'm about 90% to the top. And then push it the rest of the way. And you'll see some should come out of this hole here. Just a little air bubble came out, so we filled it. Perfect. And then put the bleeder screw back in. And then I just hand tighten it. I'm using my drill, but I'm not turning, I'm just turning it by hand. Finger tight, and then about a quarter turn more. And you want it to assemble it with the shock in the closed position. and then now we have a nice smooth movement. If you put it together like this, once you assemble the top, and most shocks don't have this bleeder valve, but once you put the top on it, you'll only be able to get half of it, and then it builds pressure and it won't give you the full movement of the shock. You can see sometimes it's a little bit of bounce back. Watch when I push it in, that comes back just a hair. That's okay. But if you put the cap on with this extended, that's about all you'll get. You'll get about half the movement. So we'll put the spring back on. And the spring bucket. Really nice. Nice and smooth. No binding. So I'll do the rest of them and catch back up with you guys. I'm really happy with these shocks. They came out real nice, really smooth. I've had them for a lot of years. Never had any problems with them. Nothing ever comes loose on them. Even the bottom here is aluminum. Everything's metal. There's no plastic on this shock anywhere. The only thing that's plastic, I think, is actually Teflon, is this little gasket here. But everything else is metal. Really, really good quality. Can't recommend them enough. X Speed. I don't know if these are still available, but very, very good quality. Really happy. Like I said before, the attention to detail with all this mill work is really, really nice. On the bottom, you'll never see that, but it's there. It's really good quality. So got these all set up. We'll put them aside, and we'll put the rear axle back together. So when we get all the parts rounded up, we'll be right back. I took these apart last night, and I put some Marvel oil with my pin oiler on the bearings here and let them soak overnight. That way it keeps the rust off of them and makes them spin a little easier. And then on the screws here on the back, I also put a little bit of oil to keep them from rusting. Let's put it together. Put the bearings on. Make sure it spins free. And then on this gear here, I have a Traxxas 5mm shim. That goes on like that. And the one bearing. And then you can drop that in the axle. And then I'm going to put a little grease on there. I'm using Falk long-term grease. This is an industrial type of grease. I don't really care for whatever brand they sell at the hobby store. I don't think they're very good quality. I'm not knocking any brand. Just in my personal experience, I've found that a lot of those greases don't last very long, and they charge you a ton of money for a tiny little package, and it's really a low quality grease. You're just paying for the name, like different brands of shoes or whatever. It's, you know, personal preference what you like to use. A lot of people swear by that stuff, but I'd rather use something that's industrial type that I know is going to last, and not something that's just a name that's questionable on the durability of it. So I'll leave a link for this stuff. Again, it's Falk L.T.G long-term grease. This stuff is super, super sticky. It stays on the gear even if you have a high-speed rig where flings the grease off. This will stay on there. This, once you put this on the gear, it's not coming off. And you don't need a lot. You don't, on those other greases you have to put full coverage. This you don't. Just two, you just saw I just put the smallest amount on this little screwdriver and 2 little dabs on there, and then on the main gear just put 4 little dots on there. This grease is so sticky, if you cover the whole gear it's gonna drag a little bit. You don't need a lot. This is super high quality stuff. It's way overkill for RC, but if you want your gears to last, again, it's personal preference, but this is all I will use. And you can see on here I just put the few dots on, so we'll give this a little turn. That's it. It's totally covered on the gears. It's never going to come off. No matter how fast this gear spins, it's going to stay on there and protect those gears. Alright, I got the gears in there. Drop the saddles in. And I have beef tubes on the axles, so you want to make sure that these slots will line up to these 2 holes. So you don't want to put it in this way. It needs to be like that. Push them in a little bit, and you'll see them through these 2 holes. It's hard to show on camera, but it's in there now. There we go. That side. Just gonna take this one off so you can see. If you put it in this way, it won't line up. You won't be able to put these 2 screws in. Make sure that it's in this position. And I'll see if I can show. There you can see. Yeah, see through the hole there? Yep. Push it in. You can see that the holes are now plugged up. Just keep pushing it in, and then now you can see through it again. So that's the position you want to be in. And then slide the lock out in. Make sure your holes are lined up here. And then just turn the axle shaft until it goes into the locker. There we go. Perfect. These are the shorter ones, yeah, these here. Just go easy, you don't need to tighten these super tight. That's it. One more. And we can put our 4-link mounts on. Put those on. Change the tip. And then we should see them be pretty much flushed in there. Yep, there it is. Over so you can see. See it come out. Okay, let's do the other side. Going through the beef tube, and there it comes out. That's it. Snug them down. Perfect. We can put our cover back on. Just do that side first. Change the tip again. And then these you really don't want to over tighten, just that's it. That's it. Put the top on. Change the tip again. Now these you don't want to snug all the way down just quite yet. Just get them started, and then this screw here goes in the back. Come out right there. There it is. That's it, fully rebuilt, nice and shiny. Perfect. All boom racing. This part, the bridge and the both lockouts and the 4-link mounts. This pumpkin cover is hot racing, and these I got on eBay. I'm not sure who makes these. And then these wheel nuts are hot racing also. Should be good for another few years. Alright, that's it for the rear. Let's do the front. Alright, so the rear one's done. Let's see the difference. This is the front axle. I haven't done anything to it yet. Let's see what it sounds like. Hear all that gunk in the gears? Let's see what this one sounds like after it's been rebuilt. Man, what a difference. Dirty, fresh rebuilt. Spins a lot easier too. So I'll do this one next, tear it apart, and hopefully it'll come out the same as the rear. Alright, I got the axle all torn apart. Went pretty good. The only issue I had was getting this tube out. Gave me a little bit of a fight. It's got a little bit of corrosion on there, so we'll get that cleaned up. The gears look really good. It's just a lot of debris in the grease. It's causing all that clicking from earlier, so we'll get that all washed out. I've got the locked up RCFI locker, heavyweight locker on there. Same as in the rear, 3614 gear set. None of the bearings are frozen, but a couple of them are kind of dirty, like this one here. We'll probably replace those. And this side looks pretty beat up too. So we'll change those out, put some fresh bearings in there. And didn't have any of the grease flinging off of the gears, which is good. You want to keep the grease on there as much as possible. So we'll get everything washed up and then I'll be back. Alright, I got the axle all cleaned up. Here's the housing. Got all the grease out of it. Got the knuckles and the C-hubs all cleaned up. They look brand new again. Got the tubes all cleaned up. I think that marking on there was just a little bit of dirt. These are stainless steel, so they shouldn't rust. Got all the bearings out. Got the gear all cleaned up. This one's got a little bit of wear on it, but I'm still going to use it. It's not too bad. The only thing that was bad was these 6 bearings here that go in the C-hub and the knuckle. They're just too worn out, so I'm not going to reuse them. I got some new ones here I'll put in, and it'll make it run a lot smoother than trying to reuse these old bearings. They're probably shot on the inside and rusted, so we won't even bother with those. So I'll get it all put back together and then I'll catch back up with you guys. Alright, got it all put back together. Looks all sparkly and fresh. Now the moment of truth. Remember all that noise it was making? Woo! Look at the ends turning. Man, what a difference that made. So smooth. Barely any noise. That thing was a hot mess before I cleaned it all up. And that's nice. That Falk grease really makes a big difference. Smooth operator. Alright, now it's time for the transmission. I got the 2-speed with the big giant outrunner on it. So we'll tear this thing apart and see what it looks like on the inside. Here's before. Doesn't sound bad. It does feel pretty smooth, but I'm sure the grease in there is in bad shape too. Alright, let's tear into it. Alright, I got the screws loose. Put up a little fight, but we got them all out. Let's see what we got. Looks really good. Just got to clean everything out, put some new grease in there. And I think I'll replace these bearings here. Everything else looks pretty good. Alright, I got the transmission all torn apart. Had these 4 screws I had to drill out. They didn't want to come out, so drilled them out. Got everything all cleaned up. Let's put it back together. I put Marvel mystery oil on all the bearings also. Just check everything first, make sure it fits good. Alright, I got everything dry fit. See here the ratio changes. That's high speed. And then that's low speed. So we'll take it back apart, put some fresh grease in there. All the gears look to be in really good shape. Let's just grease them up. I'm using the Falk grease also on this. Hear how sticky that stuff is. And this center piece goes on. Oops. goes on this way. Set that down for a second. I'm going to put some on here too. All the moving parts. And then I'm going to put some here too. The shifting fork in, and then this drops right in there. Actually, let's put a little bit right there, and then I'm going to put a little bit down in where the shifting fork goes. Alright, that's it. Put the screws in it and it should be good to go. Put the screws in. I'm going to put just a tiny bit of Loctite on there. There's one here. Motor plate on. Put a little Loctite on that one. And then while we're at it, I'm going to change the bearings on this motor as well. You just pull the pinion off and the whole bell slides out. And then I just take a screwdriver tip and just carefully pop it out. This is a 5mm by 11 by 4. So it's a 5mm hole, 4mm wide, and 11mm overall. And then you just take a new bearing and just press it in. That went in a little crooked. Let's try it again. Don't force it if it doesn't go in. It should go in fairly easily. There it goes. And then I'll just take this little tool to finish. See how it's kind of sticking out a little bit. There we go. I'll check all the windings. Looks good. When you're putting the bell in, be really careful because it'll come right out of your fingers. And then this one I already replaced. Be very careful when you're putting the bell back on. That's it. This motor's good for another 5 years. So before I put the clutch back on, I want to put the pinion on. Just push it all the way down for now. And then the pin goes in. Oops. Then the clutch backer. The spur gear is a 60 tooth, 32 pitch. And then you want to use this washer, the spring, another washer, and then the nut. If you don't use those washers, it'll wear out the clutch assembly, and if it doesn't have a washer on the other side, it'll loosen or tighten the nut. You want it to be able to spin. Let's test it out. You can see it spinning. Make sure the flat spot's lined up with the grub screw on the pinion gear. And then go ahead and tighten it down. That moved on me a little bit. I can feel there's a little play. But the rule of thumb is put a piece of plastic, loosen these two screws, and then you run a piece of plastic through like that, and then push the motor down and tighten these two screws, and then when you pull this piece of plastic out, your mesh should be set. But I can feel there's just a tiniest little bit of play, so I'm not going to mess with it. So that's the high speed, and then that's low. See how much slower the output's turning? Now it's turning fast. Alright, looks really good. Put this top piece on. Just putting a dot of Loctite on there, you don't need a lot. That's it. And then that's where our shifter hooks to. Man, that's so nice. What a difference. A little bit of maintenance will do. Alright, we're ready to put the whole truck back together. These are all the bearings I replaced. Two, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 bearings I changed. Alright, so we're ready to put the truck back together. I'm going to go into time lapse because I'm sure you guys don't want to watch the whole thing, so we'll speed it up a little bit. Alright, I got the truck all put back together. I got the electronics all in and cleaned up, and I put some new lights underneath. Just put the top covers on and we'll go give it a test run. That's the servo for the 2-speed. There's my BEC. This is a brushed ESC that I'm using for the lights. I have a light bar on the front here, and then I also have lights under this panel, and there'll be another strip underneath this panel that it's going in. And then with this ESC I can run a off position, a low, and then high. And then here I have the Mamba Max X, or I'm sorry, and here I have a Mamba Max, and there you can see the transmission spur gear, and there's the outrunner motor. And then here I have a Bluetooth speaker right there, and that's powered off of the truck. So as long as I have a battery in there, I'll be able to play music. So let's put the top on and get it all buttoned up. Alright, here it is all put back together. That's high. There's low. And then here's the lights. That's the off position, low beam, and high beam. Off, low, high. And then I'll shut the lights off so you can see the rock lights. So that's off, low, and high. To get it from the front, there's off, low, high. Let's do it from the back. Here it is from the back. See if you can see the red rock lights. That's low, high. Came out really nice. It runs so smooth. There's low. Back into high. You can see the motor right there in the center of the screen. Kind of looks like a fan blade. And you can see the servo there on the upper left. That's for the high and low gear. Came out really nice. So the only thing left to do now is go and give it a test run. Before I go and take it out for a test drive, I'm going to try and improve the performance a little bit. I'm not real happy with how the startup is. That's on high. It's a little bit jumpy. And then here's on low. Make sure you listen to the motor. And then back on high. Low. We should be able to get a little bit slower over crawl. So there's two ways you can do it. You can either use the ESC Link app on your phone, and then you'll need one of these connectors depending on what type of phone you have. This one uses a micro USB, and then it hooks this USB cable, and that hooks into the Castle Link right here. And then I can just plug this into my cell phone, and your ESC will plug into this port here. Or you can use the computer, which is what I'm going to use. So let's get that all hooked up, and then I'll be right back. Alright, I've been tuning the truck here with the Castle Link, so I'll show you where I have it set. This first tab is About, which is what you see here. The next one is Basic, and I have the voltage cutoff on Auto. I usually run 3 cell, but if I do run a 2S, it will read that automatically. And then I have the cell cutoff at 3.3 volts. The motor type I have with reverse, or I'm sorry, the reverse type I have set to reverse. Normal direction, the beep I have disabled. Brake I have at 50, and drag brake I have at 20. And then the next tab is Power. I have 100% maximum forward, 100% maximum reverse. Punch control is at 10, and then I did the motor test, and I set my torque limit to 3. Now what that does, it's kind of like an electronic clutch. If your truck doesn't have a mechanical clutch on the transmission, you can set this number lower, and if the motor starts to bind up too much, the ESC will cut power to the motor. But the higher the number, the harder it is for the motor to kick out. So if you have it set at 0.1, it'll kick out real easy, and if you have it set at 10, it probably won't kick out at all. On this truck I do have a clutch, and I have it set pretty tight. It won't slip unless it's in low gear. So I have this set a little bit less than half. It's at 3. So if I'm on low and it really binds up, it'll stop. But the clutch will slip at about the same point. So either way, I know I'm not going to damage any components on this truck. And then on the advanced, I have the BEC set at 5. But I'm using that for my Bluetooth speaker. That speaker is ran off of my ESC. Since I'm not using the BEC on there, I have an external BEC, and I have that set at 6.5 volts. So the BEC on the ESC is set only to run my Bluetooth speaker. Everything else on the truck is run off that external BEC, which is running at 6.5 volts. And then my arming time is 1.5 seconds. And then the deadband is at 0.1 millisecond. I have the start power set on low. Sensorless motor timing I have on the lowest setting, and then it's on Smart Sense brushless on the motor type. And then the next one is throttle curve. I don't have one on there. Brake curve, same thing, nothing. And then that's it. So with those settings, this truck runs really, really nice. It's real smooth. I'll get it plugged in and show you what it looks like. Alright, here it is on high gear after the tune. And then here it is on low. It's a lot better on the startup. It's about as slow as I can go on high, and that's low. High, low. It's not as smooth as the Mamba Max X, but it's pretty good. Alright, she's ready for the trails now.